Good morning dear learners, welcome to the course on Essentials of Financial Management. This is week 3, lecture 12, Net Operating Income Approach of Capital Structure. In lecture 11, we discussed about the concept of the net income approach. In this lecture, we are going to discuss about the net operating income approach, and we are also going to discuss few practical questions. Okay. So, what is net operating income approach, right? So, according to this approach, change in capital structure of a company does not affect the market value of the firm, and the overall cost of capital remains constant irrespective of the method of financing. So, if you remember the previous class where we discussed about the net income approach, and that approach says that the proportion of debt or the debt equity mix or the capital structure has an impact on the overall cost of capital as well as the market value of the firm. But this approach is quite different, and it says that change in capital structure of a company does not affect the market value of the firm, and the overall cost of capital remains constant irrespective of the method of financing. So, debt equity mix, proportion of debt does not have an impact on the market value as well as the overall cost of capital, right. Now, NOI approach suggested by Durant is another extreme of effect of the leverage on the value of the firm. It is diametrically opposite, just remember this word, diametrically opposite to the net income approach. It implies that the overall cost of capital remains the same whether the debt equity mix is 50-50, 20-80, 80-20 or 0-100. It focuses on the firm's operating income, that is EBIT, as the key determinant of its value. Okay. So, this theory asserts that there is nothing called the optimal capital structure, and every capital structure is optimal capital structure, right. And what is the line of justification? What is the argument behind this theory? The line of justification behind this theory is that as the proportion of debt in the capital structure increases, the risk perception of the equity shareholders also increase. So, if the risk perception of equity shareholders increase, the cost of equity is going to rise. So, the benefit which the company was getting because of the cheaper source of fund in the form of debt is getting exactly offset by the increased cost of equity or getting nullified by the increased cost of equity. Therefore, the overall cost of capital remains the same, right. This is the line of argument as far as this theory is concerned. So, again this theory is based on certain assumptions. So, what are those assumptions? We already discussed the assumptions for the net income approach. So, we discussed that these assumptions are restrictive, and ultimately these assumptions become the limitations of these theories also, but under these set of assumptions this theory works, right. So, let us see what are the assumptions in this particular theory. The first assumption says that there is a constant overall cost of capital, and we have just seen why it is constant, because the benefit of a lower cost of capital, that is the debt, is getting exactly offset by the increased cost of equity. So, the overall cost of capital or the weighted average cost of capital is there. So, the first assumption is that constant overall cost of capital. The second assumption is there are no corporate taxes. This theory also assumes that there are no corporate taxes, which is seldom true. In the real world, the companies have to pay the taxes, but again these are assumptions for this theory. The third assumption says that if a company issues debt and uses the proceeds to repurchase equity, now pay attention, if the company uses debt and uses the proceeds to repurchase equity, its equity value will decrease. So, what the company is doing? The company is issuing debt, right, and using that amount it is repurchasing equity. The proportion of debt is increasing and the proportion of equity is decreasing. So, what will happen? But its debt value will increase by the same amount, keeping the total value of the firm unchanged. So, debt value is increasing, but equity value is decreasing. So, the total value remains intact at the same place, right. So, with these assumptions let us move further. Value of the firm graph. Okay. So, on the x axis you see it represents debt equity ratio in the company's capital structure ranging from 0, that is all equity, to 100%. So, on the x axis we have leverage ratios. Leverage ratios are nothing but the debt equity mix in the capital structure. Higher the debt, higher is the leverage ratio. Okay. Y axis represents the value of the firm, here it is value of the firm, and value V line we are talking about this. It is the horizontal line which indicates that the firm value V remains constant regardless of the debt equity ratio. What it says, whatever the debt equity mix is, we use more debt, we use less debt, we use more equity, we use less equity, the line, this value line is constant. This is the core principle of the net operating income approach. It does not matter how much debt or equity a firm uses, its total value stays the same, right. Now, cost of capital graph, x axis represents debt equity ratio ranging from 0% that is an all equity case to 100% that is all debt case. You can see here, this is what we have seen on the x axis, that is the degree of leverage. Then y axis represents the cost of capital. You see the y axis is the cost of capital. Now, it includes cost of equity, cost of debt, overall cost of capital, includes everything. The KE line, the upward sloping line, shows that as the proportion of debt increases, the risk perception of equity shareholders also increase, making equity more costly. If you see, as we increase the proportion of debt in the capital structure, the risk perception of equity shareholders increases, and when the risk perception of equity shareholders increase, they will be demanding higher return. So, the equity will become more costly, and therefore, the cost of equity or the equity capitalization rate increases with the increase in the proportion of debt, right. The KD line, the horizontal line at the bottom represents the cost of debt, it remains constant. So, the KD line is again constant, that is cost of debt. Why? Because the risk perception of debenture holders is not getting affected by the increased proportion of debt, right. That is why the cost of debt is constant. WACC line, the horizontal line in the middle represents the weighted average cost of capital. In the NOI approach, the WACC also remains constant. So, why it remains constant? Because the advantage or the benefit that the firm was getting by using a cheaper source of funding in the form of debt, it is getting exactly nullified, exactly cancelled by the increased cost of equity, and as such the overall cost of capital remains constant. If you compare this with the net income approach, there because of the cheaper source of funding in the form of debt, the overall cost of capital was going down, right. But here, just because it is getting cancelled by the cost of equity, increase in the cost of equity, it is not getting the benefit. So, if you remember the word that this is diametrically opposite, you can just see this, right. And if you compare this with the previous graph, there this was the KO was going down, that is why it is said it is diametrically opposite to the net income approach, right. So, the graph visually demonstrates that according to the net operating income approach, a firm's value and its overall cost of capital are independent of its capital structure, right. So, firm's value and its overall cost of capital, they are not dependent on the capital structure of the firm or the debt equity mix of an organization. This is the thrust of this theory, this is the focus of this theory, that there is nothing called the optimal capital structure, and every capital structure of a firm is optimal, whatever the proportion of debt and equity might be. It might be 20-80, 80-20, 60-40, 40-60, whatever the proportion might be, every capital structure is the optimal capital structure as per this theory. Now, talking about the limitations, there are some unrealistic assumptions. One of the assumptions is that there are no corporate taxes, right, and obviously in the real world the companies have to pay taxes. So, that is the limitation of this particular theory. Assumption is that the risk perception of the debenture holders is not getting affected by increased proportion of debt. it says that the risk perception of equity shareholders is increasing, that is why K increases, but the risk perception of debenture holders is not increasing. But in the real world, if the firm resort to too much of debt financing, even the risk perception of the debenture holders will also increase, because the chances of liquidations increase with the increase in debt, and that is why the lenders will also start charging higher expecting higher returns, right. So, KD will also increase if the firm resorts to too much of debt, but that is not the case. We are assuming that the cost of debt remains constant here, and it implies that there is no optimal capital structure. Obviously, most of the firms strive to strike a balance between the proportion of debt and equity. So, they try to attain some sort of capital structure which they think is ideal for them, which they think is optimal for them, and as per this theory it says that there is nothing called the optimal capital structure. So, these are few of the limitations of this particular theory, that is the net operating income approach. Now, some formulas to remember. We use the same set of formulas in the previous lecture also, we are using the same set of formulas. So, just to refresh it, total market value of the firm, that is V, you can calculate it by adding the market value of equity shares, that is S, and you add market value of debt, that is S plus D is equals to V. And then what is the market value of equity shares, that is what is S? How you can calculate this? Earnings available to equity shareholders, and you divide this by the equity capitalization rate. So, what is the earnings available to equity shareholders? If you remember, it is EBIT minus I. If you take out the interest from earnings before interest and taxes, you get the earnings available to equity shareholders, and you divide this by equity capitalization rate, right, KE. K is nothing but the cost of equity. Now, how you can calculate KE? EBIT minus I divided by S. So, you divide EBIT minus I, that is earnings available to equity shareholders, and you divide this by S, right, that is market value of equity, you get the cost of equity. And what is KE? You can calculate it as same EBIT minus I divided by V minus D. So, instead of S I am just using V minus D, it is the same thing. Now, how you can calculate the weighted average cost of capital? It is nothing but the overall cost of capital and represented by KO. So, what it is? Earnings before interest and taxes, that is EBIT, and you divide it by total market value of the firm. So, EBIT by the total market value of the firm. So, KO is EBIT by V into 100 and V is EBIT by KO, right. I think we are clear with the formula. Now, we are in a position to do some questions. So, whenever we do questions, it is important to see whatever we discussed in this particular theory, which says that there is nothing called the optimal capital structure, or when the firm increases the proportion of debt, the overall cost of capital remains same, or the market value of the firm remains intact and does not change. Are all these things getting reflected through questions also? Obviously, we have the set of assumptions going, but is it getting reflected through questions? If it is getting reflected through questions, then only we can say that we understood this theory, right. So, let us see the question. It has two parts. The first part says a company expects an annual EBIT of rupees 1 lakh. So, EBIT is given as 1 lakh and it has 5 lakh 6% debenture. So, it issues rupees 5 lakh debentures and the rate of interest it is paying on debentures is 6%, right. The overall capitalization rate of the company. Now, here the value of KO is given, the overall capitalization rate, weighted average cost of capital is 10%. Calculate the value of the firm, you have to calculate V, and the equity capitalization rate, that is cost of equity, you have to calculate V and you have to calculate KE, right, according to the net operating income approach. This is the first part that you have to do. What is the second part? If the debenture debt is increased to 7,50,000. So, initially it was 5 lakhs, you are increasing it to 7,50,000. What will be the effect on the value of the firm and the equity capitalization rate? So, if you are increasing the proportion of debt, does the value of the firm change? Does the value the equity capitalization rate increases or decreases? We have to see here, right. So, let us first solve the first part, calculation of the total market value of the firm. So, if you remember, whenever there is a question on leverage or capital structure, the starting point is what? EBIT, that is earnings before interest and taxes. So, it is given as 1 lakh in this case. Overall cost of capital or the weighted average cost of capital KO, that is also given in the question, and how much it is? Here it is given, it is 10% given. So, using EBIT and the overall cost of capital, you can find the total market value of the firm. So, total market value of the firm, that is V, equals to EBIT divided by KO. EBIT is how much? 1 lakh, and KO is how much? 10%. So, the market value of the firm comes out to be 10 lakhs, right. Now, less market value of debentures. From the total market value of the firm, you just deduct the market value of debentures. The firm uses 5 lakhs of debentures, right. So, what you get is market value of equity, that is S. So, S is nothing but the V minus D. We have calculated as 10 lakhs and D is 5 lakhs, right. So, 10 lakhs minus 5 lakhs is again 5 lakhs, which is the market value of equity. Now, you can calculate the equity capitalization rate, that is KE, or the cost of equity. How it is calculated? The formula is EBIT minus I divided by S, right. EBIT minus I. So, what is EBIT minus I? It is EBIT is given as 1 lakh, and how you can calculate I here? The firm is using 5 lakh of debt at a rate of 6%, right. So, and this you have to divide it by 5 lakhs. 5 lakhs is the value of S, right. So, this comes out to be 14%. So, equity capitalization rate comes out to be 14% when the company is using 5 lakh of debentures at the rate of 6% and the market value is 10 lakhs. Just remember this. Now, let us move to the second part, where it says that if debenture debt is increased to 7,50,000, initially it was how much? 5 lakhs. Now, it is increased to 7,50,000. What will be the effect on the value of the firm and the equity capitalization rate? As per the net operating income approach, the value of the firm is not changed if we increase the proportion of debt in the capital structure, right. But the cost of equity increases with the increase in debt because the risk perception of equity shareholders increases. So, let us see whether it is getting reflected in the question or not. So, let us move to the second part. Calculation of the total market value of the firm if debentures are raised to 7,50,000. So, according to the net operating income approach, the total market value of the firm will remain unchanged by increase in the proportion of debt, because the proceeds of the debt would be used to repurchase equity shares. So, basically what is happening? The value of debt is increasing, but simultaneously the value of equity is going down. So, the total value of the firm remains intact, right. So, what is the total value here? EBIT by KO, EBIT is 1 lakh and overall cost of capital is 10%. So, the total market value of the firm remains at 10 lakhs, right. EBIT is given as 1 lakh. Now, what you do is less interest on 6% interest on debentures of 7,50,000 at a rate of 6%. Now, you see the rate of interest, even if you have increased the proportion of debt from 5 lakhs to 7.5 lakhs, has not changed. It has remained at 6%, because as per this theory, the risk perception of the debenture holders is not changed by the increase in the proportion of debt. Risk perception of equity shareholders changes, but the risk perception of debenture holders do not change as per this particular theory. So, we are using 6% debentures and the amount is 7,50,000, right. 7,50,000 into 6% is 45,000. Now, earnings available to equity shareholders, that is EBIT minus I, is 55,000. That is, you take out 45,000 from 1 lakh, you get 55,000. So, equity capitalization rate, that is KE, how you can calculate this? EBIT minus I divided by V minus D. So, 55,000 divided by 10 lakh minus 7,50,000. What is 55,000? This is EBIT minus I. We have already calculated this, right? And 10 lakhs is the value, the total value of the firm, and 7,50,000 is the value of the debt. So, this comes out to be 22%. So, you see, when the firm had a debt of 5 lakhs, KE, that is cost of equity, was 14%. when the firm has a debt of 7,50,000, the proportion of debt has increased, the risk perception of equity shareholders have also increased, and therefore, the cost of equity has also increased from 14% to 22%. Now, let us see whether the total value of the firm remains at 10 lakhs or not. So, you have 55,000 as the earnings available to equity shareholders. So, when we want to let's try to find out the value of S, right. So, it is earnings available to equity shareholders divided by the cost of equity, that is 22%. If you calculate this, you will get the value of S as how much? You will get the value of S as 2,50,000, right, 2,50,000. So, you see you have increased the proportion of debt from 5 lakhs to 7 lakhs, but the equity has declined from 5 lakhs to 2.5 lakhs. So, the total value of the firm is a combination of the debt and equity, the value of debt and equity, which is 7.5 lakhs and 2.5 lakhs, the total value remains at 10 lakhs. So, we can see there is no change in the total market value of the firm, but the risk perception of equity shareholders has changed, and therefore, it has increased. So, it is evident that with the increase in debt financing, the total market value of the firm has not changed. You see, this has not changed, but the cost of equity increases from 14% to 22% due to increase in the risk perception of equity shareholders, right. I think now it is getting reflected through questions also. Okay. Let us do one more question to have a better understanding. XYZ Limited expects an annual EBIT of rupees 2 lakhs. So, EBIT is given as rupees 2 lakhs. It has 5 lakhs outstanding debt. So, the amount of debt is 5 lakhs, cost of debt is given as 10%, right. If the overall cost of capital or the capitalization rate is 12.5%. So, KO is given as 12.5%. What would be the value of the firm and the equity capitalization rate? You have to find out the V and K according to the net operating income approach, right. There are two more parts to this. The firm increases the amount of debt from 5 lakhs to 7.5 lakhs and uses the proceeds of the debt to purchase equity shares. What would be the effect on the value of the firm and equity capitalization rate? Part C says that the firm redeems debt of 2,50,000 by issuing fresh equity shares of the same amount. What would be the effect on the value of the firm and equity capitalization rate? So, let us do these questions one by one. Let us start with part A. So, calculation of the total market value of the firm. We always start these questions from EBIT and it is given as 2 lakhs, right. Overall cost of capital KO is given in the question and it is 12.5%. Using these two, we can calculate the total market value of the firm, which is nothing but the EBIT you divided by KO. So, 2 lakhs divided by 12.5% comes out to be 16 lakhs. This is the total market value of the firm, and if you deduct the market value of debentures from this, you get how much? You get, so market value of debentures is given as 5 lakhs, right. So, market value of equity, which is V minus D, it is 16 lakhs is the total market value, and market value of debenture is 5 lakhs. So, market value of equity comes out to be 11 lakhs. Now, you can calculate equity capitalization rate, that is K. It is EBIT minus I divided by S, EBIT minus I. So, 2 lakhs, okay, minus 2 lakhs is your EBIT, and how can you calculate I? It is 10% of 5 lakhs and you divide this by 11 lakhs, that is the value of equity shareholders, and you multiply this by 100, this comes out to be 13.64%. So, when you have a debt of 5 lakhs, the total market value of the firm is 16 lakhs and the equity capitalization rate is 13.64%. Let us move to the second part. It says that the firm increases the amount of debt from 5 lakhs to 7.5 lakhs. The proportion of debt is increasing in the capital structure and uses the proceeds of the debt to repurchase equity shares. That means, proportion of debt is increasing and equity is decreasing. So, value of debt has increased from 5 to 7.5 and the value of equity will go down, right. So, making the total market value of the firm at the same place. So, what would be the effect on the value of the firm and the capitalization rate? So, let us see calculation of the total market value of the firm if debentures are raised to 7.5 lakhs and the proceeds of the debt are used to repurchase equity shares. So, according to the NOI approach, that is net operating income approach, the total market value of the firm will remain unchanged. We have already seen why it remains unchanged. The value of the debt will increase, the value of the equity will go down, keeping the total value intact. So, you can calculate the total value using this formula EBIT by KO. EBIT is 2 lakhs and KO, that is overall cost of capital, is given as 12.5%. So, this comes out to be 16 lakhs, which was in the previous case as well. EBIT is given as 2 lakhs and less interest on 10% debentures of 7 lakh 50. So, now the debentures have increased to 750 and the rate of interest is 10%. You see, there is no change in the rate of interest on debentures even if you are increasing the proportion of debt, because of the assumption that risk perception of debenture holders is not changing, right. Again, we will go to the next theories and we will see that this is also not true, right. So, 10% of 7,50,000 is 75,000. Now, earnings available to equity shareholders is nothing but the EBIT minus I. So, this comes out to be 2 lakhs minus 75,000, this is 1,25,000, and now you can easily calculate the equity capitalization rate, that is KE. What is KE? How you can calculate this? EBIT minus I, we have already calculated this 1,25,000 divided by V minus D or S. So, 1,25,000 you divide this by 16 lakhs minus 7,50,000, this comes out to be 14.7%. If you compare it with the previous part, when you had 5 lakh of debentures, KE was 13.64. When you increase the debentures to how much? When you increase the debentures 7.5 lakhs, the risk perception of equity shareholders increased, and that is why they demand higher return, and it has increased to 14.7%. Cost of equity has gone up and the total market value remains intact. Now, the third part says that the firm redeems debt of rupees 2,50,000 by issuing fresh equity shares of the same amount. Now, what is happening? The firm redeems debt and it issues equity shares. So, it is increasing the proportion of equity and decreasing debt. So, the market value of equity increases, whereas the market value of debt goes down, keeping the total value of the firm intact. What would be the effect on the value of the firm and equity capitalization rate? So, as per this theory, if we are decreasing the proportion of debt, the risk perception of shareholders should go down. So, cost of equity should also go down. Let us see whether it is happening or not. So, calculation of the value of the firm if it redeems debt of rupees 2,50,000 by issuing fresh equity shares of the same amount. So, according to the NOI approach, the total market value of the firm will remain unchanged, will remain intact. So, how it can be calculated? V is EBIT minus KO, EBIT is given as 2 lakhs, overall cost of capital is 12.5%. Again, overall cost of capital does not change as you have seen in all these questions. So, this is 16 lakhs, right. Earnings before interest and taxes is given as 2 lakhs, it is given in the question itself, less interest on 10% debentures, and the debentures amount is now 2,50,000. Initially it was 5 lakhs, then we increased to 7.5 lakhs and now we have decreased it to 2.5 lakhs. So, 10% of 2.5 lakhs is 25,000. So, earnings available to equity shareholders, that is EBIT minus I, is how much? It is 2 lakh minus 25,000, this is 1,75,000. So, now we are in a position to calculate the equity capitalization rate or the cost of equity, that is KE. So, what it is? How it can be calculated? It can be calculated as earnings available to equity shareholders, that is EBIT minus I, and you divide it by S, or you can use V minus D, right. So, 1,75,000 is EBIT minus I, we have already calculated this, and value of V is 16 lakhs and D is 2,50,000. So, this comes out to be 12.96%. Equity capitalization rate has gone down. If you see, initially when you had 5 lakh of debt, it was 13.64%. When you increase debt to 7.5 lakhs, the risk perception of equity shareholders also increased and K increased to 14.7. When you decrease the proportion of debt to how much? To 2.5 lakhs. So, what is happening now? It is the risk perception of equity shareholders has gone down, and that is why the cost of equity has also gone down to 12.96%. So, this is what the net operating income approach says. It says that there is nothing called the optimal capital structure, and every capital structure is optimal capital structure, and with the increase in debt, the overall cost of capital will remain same and the risk perception of equity shareholders changes. So, cost of equity rises and the market value of firm also remains intact. So, we can see it is clear that increase or decrease in the amount of debt in the capital structure of the company has no effect on the total market value of the firm and it remains unchanged. If you see, in the first case it was when you had a debt of 5 lakhs, when you increase the debt to 7.5 lakhs, then also it remained at 16 lakhs. When you decrease the debt by 2.5 lakhs, then also it remained at 16 lakhs. So, there is no change in the total market value of the firm and it remains unchanged at 16 lakhs. However, the equity capitalization rate or the cost of equity will increase with the increase in debt. Why it increases? Because the risk perception of equity shareholders increases with increase in the proportion of debt, and it decreases with the decrease in debt because the risk perception of equity shareholders goes down. So, they also expect lower return, right. So, we have seen whatever we have discussed in the NOI approach, it is getting reflected through these questions, obviously through the assumptions also that we have taken. So, these are the books which you can go through to have a better understanding about the concepts that we have discussed. Thank you so much.